Hello, everyone. My guest today is Damian Thompson. He is building a company called Rev.Team. Rev.Team scaling. He's been scaling businesses since 1999, helping B2B founders grow from 50K to a million in MRR by building high-performance revenue teams. We'll focus on that today. Damian, you ready to take us to the top?
Let's go.
So just to be clear, Rev.Team, is this a business? Like, is this a SaaS software you're selling, or no, it's an agency?
So it's a service business right now, but we're actually literally building out our first piece of, it's always been, I call it a SaaS. It's a service as a software as a service business. I'm trying to figure out how to create the software. Right now, the first thing I'll get will be a bit of an ATS, applicant tracking system.
Okay, so let's talk about what it is today. So it is an agency. What is the agency delivering today?
So we work with B2B founders, 80% software people, that's where I come from, that have found product market fit, say $50,000 to $100,000 in MRR, and they want to grow to $1 million, $2 million a month, and they know they need to grow a revenue team, but they're product people. So I come in and I help them by building sales, lead gen, the functions, the tools, the team, the tactics.
And how many of them are paying you like monthly right now to do this?
So I have a dozen people right now. It's a dozen companies I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing. It was fluctuating around kind of like 7 or 8, but now actually I've built a team out to actually deliver a lot of it. And so we've been scaling quite fast the last few months because we've productized basically, I would say 80% of it. So.
Yeah. And when did you launch the business?
This is kind of version 3 of it, to be honest with you. It was originally a company called Salesability, which was heavy on the training side. But this incarnation of it, I would say, is January of last year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. So 2020. And where did you get those first, 1 or 2 customers from?
So I'm pretty dialed into that kind of bootstrap entrepreneur software market, the Rob Longs of the world, and Microconfs of those guys. And so I've been coaching on Clarity FM for a long time. And so they're just kind of my people. They're kind of the people that when I've been selling them some version of service to help them for the last decade. And this was just kind of the original plan was more a training, coaching type business. And then after COVID, I really kind of turned that business to zero because it just wasn't important enough. And I said, I got to find that, I got to find something that's important. So not just a nice to have, but a must have, and teams. They wanted to grow teams.
Yep. And so what are these teams paying you today to use your agency services?
Yeah. So there's basically 2 models. Either you pay me $2,500 a month and I meet with you once a week and I show you kind of what you need to do and you go do it. Or you pay $10,000 a month and I come in and I'm essentially your fractional execs your VP of sales 1 day a week. Not exactly a day, but that's the idea. As we move forward, now it's about deliverables. So every 90 days, every quarter, we want to deliver something. So you want a 3-person team, plan, territory, recruiting, done. You want to have outbound created, ready, locked in, 90 days, done. So we really focus on kind of a deliverable that's going to move the revenue needle every 90 days.
Mm-hmm. And how many of the 12 are on the $10,000 a month versus $2,500?
It's a great question. I think almost half. I'm just under 5. So 4,800 MRR right now.
Yep.
For like kind of 12, so something like that. Yeah.
48,000 or 4,800?
No, it's about 48,000 revenue
in monthly revenue.
Yeah,
that's great. So, and what did you finish last year in total revenue collected?
So I was 0 in June of last year. So I've gone from down all the way to 0, and so finished December at I think just over like 30,500, and we're at 47.5 to be exact right now.
Yeah, that's great. And so ignoring like runway, how much cash did you collect last year for this agency business, Rev.Team?
Yeah, so I did about a little over 200,000.
That's great.
Well, it was a step down. So I can run a consulting business to $300,000 every year. $25,000 a month. That's kind of that kind of ceiling. So did $300,000 the year before under the Salesability banner doing the coaching, and then. But we had, the first half of last year was literally 0 for the most part. And so, did all that in the second half. We'll do $1 million this year.
Mm-hmm. And who is we?
So, well, as of 3 weeks ago, it was just me. It's still royal we. But I actually have a small team now. So I've actually started bringing on some people around the recruiters. I've got a full-time recruiter now that actually helps me run that piece. And it's someone that's actually helping on the RevOps side around the process. So there's 3 of us.
3 of you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
And do they have any equity, or you're the sole founder?
This is me.
Okay. And bootstrapped or raised?
Bootstrap.
We love that. As you know, we love that. What are some other great, I have a lot of bootstrappers that listen to this, and sometimes we just feel lonely. It's like, okay, we have Microconf, we have indie hackers, but like any other places you found to kind of sort of hang out?
So, it's funny because Bootstrapped is such an interesting thing now because I think it's kind of like even Rob talks about like fund strapping. Rob, the king of the bootstrappers is doing some sort of capital raise, right? So I think the spirit of bootstrapping still though, I would say the earnest guys are pretty good. The founder summit, those guys are I hang out with them a bit. The no code
who puts on the founder summit?
It's the Earnest Capital.
So, got it.
Yeah, Tyler and those guys.
Yeah.
But I really gravitate towards the no code communities because I just find there's a hustle there to them. They're generally, it's kind of a bootstrapping mentality versus throw a bunch of, you can't afford $150,000 developer, right? So let's go figure out how to make this work on some. And so I'm spending a lot of time there, and then.
Well, what do you mean you spend time there? So where is there? What's the URL?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So my plan for last year was I had about 10 or 11 events that I was going to speak at or kind of attend in some fashion. I'm a networking kind of guy. And so that's what I was going to do. Then of course, COVID happened. And so in trying to figure out what to do next, I ended up joining 90 different Slack communities last year. And then kind of went through them. I'm currently a member of just about 30. And people always get crazy about that. One, yes, I spend a considerable amount of time in there, but it's an ebb and flow. So I'm not as good as you. You're the king of batching and kind of controlling your time. But what I'll do is I'll come in at certain periods of time, and there's times that the RevOps communities I'm part of make a lot of sense. I got something I can contribute there. There'll be times that I'm in communities like with the BDR markets.
Actually name a couple of these communities.
Absolutely. So I got I've got part of. Let's see here. You know what? Let me do this real quick.
Yeah, you can bring it up, right?
I'm going to do that right now.
But come on, you must know the ones you're most active in by heart, right?
So the big ones are, so I'm a big part of Rob's. So that's the Tiny C, which is kind of Microconf Connect is what it's called, is the Slack community. So I'm in there. I'm in the Founder Summit one. So the Founder Summit online. I'm in I'm in yours. I'm in your SaaS community. I'm in a couple of HubSpot communities. I'm in the Dynamite Circle, but it's pretty quiet. They've gone kind of back on the online. I'm in.
What's a tactic you've seen a Slack owner use to really engage the audience really well? That's not like a usual strategy.
Yeah. It's a good question. I think someone who's kind of crushing right now is Sam Thompson. What's his Jetpack? I can't remember what he's calling himself. It's Jetpack is what he's calling it, and he is. He's done a really good job of engaging. It's pretty young. It's like 2 months old or something like that. But I found I felt welcome from the very beginning. In the kind of paid, non-really Slack, Drew for Trends is crushing it on Circle. I really love that community. I really feel he does these daily stand-ups and he's kind of gamified it a bit. That's really good. And so I find that it's the community Slack, what they call themselves, I forget that they're good, and they're very good. I would hope, but I don't think it's the forum or the kind of the platform as much as it is just how committed you are to it and what you're going to do. And are you trying to SOP it from day one? Are you trying to do it yourself? Are you engaged? And if you're not engaged, then you have someone that is, right? You have a true community person. And I know community is that new hotness right now, but you can tell the difference. I mean, I've been in a lot of them. You can see the ones that are there just because they think they have to be, and the ones that actually truly believe there's value in a community.
Damian, 5 minutes left here. I want to switch to actually what you know best, rev teams, right? So scaling revenue teams. What's the biggest mistake founders do when they hire their first sales rep?
They hire way too soon. So they think that, hey, I want to get this on my plate. I hate this. I don't want to do this. I'm going to go hire somebody and they're going to come in. They're going to come build it for me. That doesn't happen. That person does not exist. There is no such thing as a Rolodex. Not only is a Rolodex not a real thing anymore, it never really existed even in theory, right? So anyone that could go build a business for you is going to build it for themselves. Mm-hmm. So you're hiring an employee. I don't care. They're very expensive employee, but you're hiring an employee.
Should that first sales rep have a quota or no?
Yeah. I mean, well, so second problem to make is you shouldn't have one. You should hire two. Always hire two. If you hire one, there's only a yes or no. They either fail or succeed. You hire two, you get one fails and one succeeds. That gives you that third data point. That third data point is important because now you know whether it's your problem, the process problem, or it's actually a personnel problem. So, but yes, absolutely. It should be measured from day one and pushed hard. Sales is the one role that even if you're great at it, it takes work ethic forever. It's like going to the gym. You don't get to, I'm big enough all of a sudden I don't have to work out ever again. Sales is the same way. You still got to pick up the phone. You still got to make the call. You still got to go do the work. And so a lot of times what will happen is there's a lot of laziness there. And so you've got to hire for kind of work ethic as well as kind of aptitude. And that's difficult to do. And then founders come in, and then once they come in, they don't push them hard enough when they get in. Like you have to stay on top of them. So I tell people all the time, if you hate sales, you're going to hate sales management even more. So you really need to have your process.
Should the first sales rep get equity in the company?
I think it depends. I mean, I don't know. I've got equity in a couple of companies. I think equity is overplayed. I mean, very few people actually ever capitalize on it. And so I think that sharing in the wealth, absolutely. I do profit sharing. I do bonuses. I think that's absolutely valuable. But equity itself, I guess if you have a plan for an exit, sure. But most companies don't ever exit.
Yeah. All right, Damian, let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
First, Break All the Rules.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
CEO, sorry?
Yep. You're following or studying.
Sorry about that?
A CEO you're following or studying.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll show my age here. I'm a Bill Gates fan. He's the gangster. So.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building Rev.Team?
So HubSpot.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
Recently, maybe 4.5.
Okay. That's not a lot, man. That's not healthy.
It's not. It's very unhealthy.
What's keeping you up?
Oh, just been busy. I told myself this time I wasn't going to scale out the team until I got to 50,000 a month. And so that was just a lot of work. But now I'm scaling the team out, so I'm starting to get some sleep.
All right. And what's your situation? Married, single, kids?
Married, 2 kids.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 48.
48. Last question. What's something you wish you knew when you were 20?
That it doesn't matter, there's no answer. It doesn't matter. I didn't figure out what I wanted to do till I was 48. So, so it's a journey. Enjoy yourself. Don't get so caught up in, worrying and got to do the right decision all the time. Just enjoy it.
Guys, Rev.Team, it's an agency that helps SaaS companies hire and build their sales and RevOps. They did $200,000 in revenue last year. This year now, though, doing about $50,000 a month across 12 customers and building out a SaaS tool that he'll be releasing here shortly sometime this year to continue to scale. Damian, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks, Nathan.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.